Hi there. So today I'm going to be talking about one of the four natural forces, the force of gravity. So in its broadest sense of terms, gravity can be thought of as the force that attracts any two objects with energy together. So things that have energy include objects with mass and light. So any object that has any mass is actually exerting a force on any other objects surrounding them. So this can be seen as, planets, the sun, your house, yourself. Anything with mass is actually exerting a force on the things around it. Commonly, we view gravity as being the force that pulls us towards the center of the Earth, and that's just one of the nearly infinite examples of gravity in the works. In that example, since Earth has a lot of mass, we have mass. It's pulling us down towards the center of the Earth, thus keeping us from floating freely into space, essentially. So, how might teachers develop an understanding of students' prior knowledge on the topic of gravity? I think, like we learned in class, one of the best ways to do this is do a concept test. So we could do the test that we did in class, involving asking a bunch of several different questions to our students, having them, write down answers to themselves, answer with numbers on their chin, or getting up and moving around the classroom. This would be a great way to kind of view who actually has a strong knowledge on the topic and who's, peeking around at their friends for answers. We could do a worksheet that they can hand in to me of formative assessments so I can kind of view where they're at, or we can create a class discussion. But I think ultimately the main thing for us to do is to carefully listen to our students. As Gooding and Metz say, and I'm going to read this directly from their article, From Misconception to Conceptual Change, they say, through listening carefully to our students' responses, analyzing them, seeking clarification, and demanding explanations and discussions, we can determine whether their understanding of the content is superficial or deep. So we might have to dig a little bit to get these answers, but ultimately, if we ask the right questions, provoke the right discussions, we'll be able to get a good idea if they're just saying something that they think they know, or if they actually have a deeply rooted understanding of the concept. And this will give us, a good idea of kind of where they stand. We can base our lessons off of that. So what are some of the common misconceptions that students might have about gravity? One being heavier objects fall faster than lighter objects all the time. This might seem the way. It's not true. The only reason that heavier objects fall faster than lighter objects is because lighter objects are more susceptible to air resistance. Heavier objects will fall with more force, but not necessarily faster. And I've linked a video to a BBC video about dropping a bowling ball on feathers in a vacuum chamber, which I think perfectly demonstrates this example. It's really cool. A second one is that astronauts experience zero gravity in space. This, of course, is not true because astronauts have energy, they have mass, so does the Earth. What's actually happening is that astronauts are being pulled towards the Earth, but the Earth keeps moving as it's in orbit, so it creates this perpetual fall for astronauts that constantly, so basically they're constantly falling, but they definitely do experience gravity because they have mass. Weight equals mass. This is not true. Mass is the amount of inertial matter contained in an object, and weight is the measurement of the strength of gravity acting on an object. Got that from a YouTube video on common science misconceptions. I'll link it. Gravity is a downward force. This is not always necessarily true. This is just how we view gravity because on Earth we seem to be pulled down. But really, you're pulled towards the center of an object where the center of mass is. And I got that from icteachers.co.uk. I'll provide the link. So what are the common strategies that a teacher may use to teach the concept or to deepen the understanding? I think for a concept like gravity, since it's something that we feel every day, but it's not something that we can see necessarily, and unless we drop an object or something like that, I think the best way is to create visualization. Now, to do that, I think we should really use secondary sources such as YouTube videos and whatnot. I've linked a couple, or I've provided a couple of great links to YouTube videos, one on Minute Physics, which just provides an animation regarding gravity, and then one by a man named Dan Burns, who actually creates a visualization of gravity using steel balls and a spandex sheet. It kind of gives a good visualization of what's actually happening, in space when you have gravity in your time-space continuum. And then lastly, I think we can use the equations created by Einstein and Newton, and we can actually solve them. We can solve the gravitational constant. We can solve mass of Earth, radius distance between objects. And I think doing that, hopefully it'll get students hooked on gravity and ultimately it'll better their understanding of gravity. Thank you.